Hi, welcome back to Real Auto Reports. Today we have the Real First Impressions video edition right here from Real Auto Ranch on this 2014 Scion TC. It is all new for 2014 and we'll give you our first impressions, so stay tuned. Alright, so from the front, what you're going to notice the most about this 2014 Scion TC is the very different front end approach with this aggressive and stylized front end. And you've got this kind of resembles the Toyota split grille like we've seen on the RAV4 that we recently reviewed and we went out to the launch on. This Scion has a great look, this lippy lower spoiler, lots of design, lots of angles. It has this aggressive look, a very masculine look, something that Scion has gently walked the Scion TC into over the past couple generations. The first generation was very round and slender and curvy, and then they started to get more muscular, more aggressive, and it really gives this car an extra added bite. And you can option it up with a bunch of dealer options that will really personalize this look, and you can make it more sporty or you can make it a little cuter too. It depends on what your personality really wants it to be like. So I like what they've done. It's a great design, good details, especially here you can see the LEDs and things like that. It's really nice. But I think you can see more of how they've changed this car when we go around the side. So let's check that out. All right, so from the side, where you're going to see the most difference in this car, I think, is on the flat top here on the roof line. These cars have gotten more chopped as time has gone on, where it looks like a flat top haircut from the 80s, if you will. It's got this nice curve up the A-pillar and then whoo, straight line, and then you get this nice soft curve back into the deck lid. Now the bigger change from the side is that this depth is a lot shorter than on the previous generations. And a lot of that's, and we'll cover this when we get to the back, but a lot of that's because this is a lift gate, not a trunk. It's not a true coupe anymore, technically. It's a liftback, a two-door liftback now. So that's an interesting change with the Scion. The other thing I like is these integrated rocker designs, and of course, these really nice, on this model that we're testing, 18-inch wheels. And you can see they're a 5-spoke design with the, well, dual spokes on each main spoke. So you have the 5 and then, you know, that nice snow flake pattern if you want to get into the winter months here with us. But I like this car. Turn signal indicators on the mirrors, some nice detail in the design, some nice ridges, some nice belt line body detail. It's a great car for looks. It looks youthful, it looks sporty, and no matter who you are, it will really say something when you pull up. And it's at a pretty good price considering. Let's take a look at the back and see how it wraps up around there. All right, so from the back, what you're going to see is a pretty big change from the original Scion. Oh, a little over or about 10 years ago, now that we're having the 10th anniversary of the Scion brand. And actually, you can get a TC in the 10th anniversary limited edition. But we'll talk about that later. This is a pretty neat back end, though, because it does have this major change to the Scion TC. You can lift the back up, and it is really a 3-door liftback, as I mentioned before. But look at all this space now that you have. You're not impeded by that true coupe design where you had a trunk lid and a trunk separate. Now, the other thing that's kind of interesting about this then is that this really feels more like those early Toyota, like Corolla or Supra type cars that they had in the 80s. It's getting back to that lineage, I think, following the FRS model, where the FRS was really designed to be a sports car. These coupes, or now liftbacks, are pretty cool, and they have what I would have called in high school, let's not talk about how long ago that was, Euro taillights. This is what we would have called them back then. Now they're just kind of standard, and they have LED inserts. You can see it's got the 5-star pattern, kind of like the wheels, and it's a nice small taillight design for a nice compact coupe. And of course, you've got your third brake light housing, exhaust tip, nice exhaust sound. The rear valence that kind of mimics the front. And notice these rear reflector area here in the outer part of this lower bumper housing. This all mimics the front design as well, so it all comes together nicely, and they've really taken a lot of attention to detail to make this car a redesigned package. It doesn't look like it's just been slap-dabbed together, at least not from my opinion. So that's the back. Let's hop in and see what they've done to the interior. All right, so from the driver's seat here, what we noticed immediately is what this car has inside and how it's changed. The dash structure is very nice in this 2014. I think this is one of the nicest dash treatments I've seen since the FRS. And what we started to see Toyota really do in general across all of their brands, which is make a more modern interior. This has a more integrated face for the 6.1 display, the Pioneer Scion display here, which also will drive your bespoke app capabilities like the map and the navigation, that type of stuff. Now, keep in mind that this car does not have a rear view camera, so it's not going to really benefit you in that way. But the app is pretty cool, and you can do some cool things like track your friends and follow them, and it'll show you where they are on the map, and it's all driven from your cell phone. So it actually uses your cell phone data plan with the bespoke app. So you want to keep an eye on that if you're on a pay-per-play data plan. But most people these days are running with a good plan or unlimited data if they're lucky. And getting back to the car, it's just a nice layout. I like it much better than the previous generation, and I like that better than the generation before it. So you can see continual improvement. You've got nice sound system, which is what the Scions are known for, so that's going to really make sound aficionados proud, and it'll really make you roll up with some thumping bass if you are into that kind of thing. You've got sports seats. You can see here it's got the nice kick out for the shoulders. You can fold them easily with this switch right here over the shoulder, and that will push it up and slide it all the way forward, which makes it really easy for your passengers to get in. On the real video, we'll try to demonstrate what that's like for someone 6 foot. But know that that back seat, from a real first impressions perspective, is pretty darn roomy for such a small coupe. The other thing that I like is that you have your volume and radio controls on the steering wheel. And the thing I don't like is that at $21,000, about as tested, I don't have satellite radio in this car. And that annoys me because I've gotten used to it. 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have cared. Now it seems like I can't live without it. Go figure, eh? But the other thing you want to know is you have manual seats. So keep that in mind, that this is going to still be an entry-level sports car. So it's going to be very much the Miata of coupes, if you will. So let's take a look at what powers this beast under the hood. All right, so under the hood, what you're going to find is the 4-cylinder, 179 horsepower engine. And this thing does make this car a lot of fun. 0 to 60 about 7.5, which may not seem rocket fast, but it is good for an entry-level sports coupe like this. And this particular one that we're testing has the 6-speed automatic transmission with the manual shift mode. Now, you don't have flappy paddles or anything like that, but you can shift it right there from the console. Now, the only thing that I'll say about the automatic in this real first impressions is that it has some odd quirks that I noticed right away from driving it. The manual mode is interesting in that you can shift it into a gear and it will still, from stop, show that gear and run all the way up and hold into that gear. So it's not like some of the traditional manual modes where it will drop you all the way back down to first on the gauge itself. This one will actually perform more like a sport mode and then let you shift on top of it. So it's kind of interesting from that perspective. But we'll continue to test it and give you more feedback in the real video, the real review. Now, something else that you want to know is the fuel mileage, especially at a lower price point. You want to make sure you're getting good economy out of this 179 horsepower engine. 23 in town, 31 out on the highway. Not bad. I think that's actually really good for such a peppy little car. Now, the other thing you might want to know is how does it do in the snow? Well, we can actually tell you about that too. It's front wheel drive. You do have traction control, so you can keep this vehicle planted. But if you're going to look at one of these and drive it year-round, and you're in a climate like Colorado, like we are, and there's snow on the ground, then you might want to look into a separate set of wheels and tires for the winter. So some nice sports or some nice Blizzaks or something like that, Firestones, anything that'll help you get around a little better, because these sports tires that it comes with, well, might not be so great on the ice and snow. All in all though, great motor transmission combination. We have a few questions about the automatic, but we'll update you in the real video. So I guess all that's left is to drive this bad boy and tell you what we think from behind the wheel. So we'll do that, and we'll have it up next. All right, so hitting the road in this 2014 Scion TC. This car has matured well over the generations. It's a vehicle that has a great driving sense. It's very sporty. It's a vehicle that you don't expect to be as fun to drive as it is based on, I think, the price point. We've kind of forgotten about these well-priced sports cars, but people who have driven the Scion brand haven't forgotten. And so you get out here and you step on the gas and it just really moves. It's a vehicle that can get you up to speed, can do what you want to do out on the road, and from a first impressions perspective, it drives super nice. It's a vehicle that has 179 horsepower, crisp steering, a nice firm steering wheel, a steering wheel that has a lot of feel to it. It's thick, and when you go around corners, it's not overly weighted, yet it's a vehicle that you feel confident taking up into the mountains or out on a nice summer or fall cruise. We're really into winter these days, but this is a car you can look forward to opening the sunroof here with the panoramic roof inside and really enjoy it. And I think that's really the key to this vehicle, is that it is a fun car to drive, and it takes bumps well, it goes in town and out of town well, and I could even see driving this on a long road trip without too much trouble, because the seats are comfortable from a first impressions perspective anyway. Nothing is feeling awkward or strange. It's got good grip in the bolsters. I like it, but you know what we have to do? We have to drive this car more. So stay tuned for the real video, the real review, and we'll have the wrap-up coming up next. So that's the Real First Impressions video edition on this all-new 2014 Scion TC. This is your entry-level coupe, sports coupe, if you will, for the Scion brand. It's the car that you could say really started it all, along with the Toaster. Yes, that would be the XB. It's a car that, as tested in this new skin, is right about $21,000, has a 179 horsepower four-cylinder, which really gives it some pep and that sporty influence people are looking for. Of course, the absolutely red color here doesn't hurt either, does it? It is very bright and really stands out in the crowd. This new muscular design is keeping in a theme from the previous generation, which went more masculine from the rounder previous generation from that. So we're seeing even more muscular and angular accents here on the front and down the body lines with some nice, real solid pieces of design along the car. It's a vehicle that'll do 0 to 60 in about 7.5 seconds, which is not bad for an entry-level coupe for the younger generation. I like this car. It has enough room to get people in and out of the back seat, and they can stay comfortable. That's a critical thing from a first impressions on a coupe, so I think it does that really well. And it has some neat features like the dual panoramic sunroof in the inside, which is great at a $21,000 price point. We'll have the real video, the real review coming up right here from Real Auto Ranch. I'm Jonathan McGrew. This is Real Auto Reports, and we'll see you down the road.